Hey guys, what is going on out there today? It is Brent Abel here, webtennis.com. Hope you're having a great day so far, wherever you are. I am out here on the West Coast, specifically the California desert, Rancho Mirage, right next door to Palm Springs. The Mission Hills Country Club, another gorgeous day on tap here. Hope all's well with you wherever you are and that you're getting some tennis in this week. What I've got for you today is we're going to talk about a backhand passing shot. I'm going to tee up here for you a point between Glenn Busby and Mike Federle, played a couple of years ago here at the National 60 Hard Courts at the Mission Hills Country Club. Before we do that, a quick reminder, I've got a complimentary, no charge, free on me. I got you covered. Course, 20-minute course for your topspin second serve. And specifically, what I want to show you how to do is how to get more natural racket speed so that you do a couple things. Number one is that, you get more power, which we've got to have in that second serve, right? But we've also got to be able to impart the right kind of spin. And the right kind of spin does a couple things. Number one, it gives it a higher margin of safety over the top of the net. So we stop flirting with the net, but number two, it doesn't just sit up there, right, for the returner, whether it's singles and or doubles, and let that returner just kind of take advantage of the point from the start, right? So it is a complimentary course. All you got to do is down in the description area, there's a link, take you over to webtennis.com. Just drop in your first name and email address once you get there, and you will get access to that 20-minute I'm not going to call it a mini course because we get right to it. There's no fluff. There's no BS. There's no wham. Let's just get to it. So, all right, guys, that said, what I've got for you today is a video, and let me tee this video up for you. And it's an interesting point, I think. But we're going to specifically, that's where I'm going to stop it. And ask you, what shot would you play? So we've got Glenn Busby from Australia, pretty much number one player in the world in his age group in the world, right? Year after year, we got Mike Federle, his opponent. This is the semifinals of the National 60 Hard Courts from a couple of years ago. Mike, a top world player in his age group as well. So look, I'm going to play this point in real time. I don't think you can hear the sound of the point, and that's fine. But there's a lot of interesting stuff that's going on in this point, which we could take a week of just going through this point and kind of picking it apart. But I'm going to go ahead and pause it right when we get to the passing shot attempt by Glenn. And so it's coming up here in just a second. And all right, here we go, right in here. So go ahead and pause it right about here where the ball is bouncing, okay? And if you are the great Glenn Busby, what are you going to do, right? I mean, are you going to drive this thing? Are you going up the line? Are you going to dip it down at Mike's feet? Are you going cross court? Maybe you're going to slide it, even though this might be, it's a setup that could be disguised for a little chip, right? A little chip approach, which is to get it down and then be coming in behind it and force that net player to hit up to you. So look, you've probably got a shot in mind, and actually let me go ahead and get a little bit deeper into the setup right about there. Okay. So from right here, I would say with the racket prep and the grip, this is going to be a drive, right? It's going to be a topper. Now, look, what I want to do here is I just want to go through it in slow-mo, and then I'm going to back up and take you through what I think are the 3 or 4 things that you've got to do to make your backhand pass. And the same thing is going to happen on the forehand as well. But the 4 things that you got to be thinking about doing when you go for the pass. And all of them are demonstrated in this passing shot. So let's take it back here, and we're going to tee it up again. And Here it comes. So thing number one is going to be spacing, right? And they should happen in the order that I'm going to give them to you, right? Spacing is Glenn's thinking, well, what can I realistically do to get the ball off to my side rather than, because right now, if he doesn't move out of this position, the ball is going to be right at him, right? And sometimes there's not enough time to create the space, but if you do have time, you've got to create some space with your feet so that you get to be able to have the ball off to your side, so you can have some swing freedom, right? Whether it's forehand and or backhand. So that's thing one. And one of the things with really early spacing is that on your setup is that you get to disguise where you're going to go with this shot, right? If your spacing is too late and if your setup is too late, you can't really make that opponent over there guess what you're going to do. You kind of start telegraphing it. So number one, make sure that you create that spatial distance away from the path of the incoming ball with your feet so that you get set up for being able to use minimalist swing technique, right? That you're not really having to improvise some kind of a goofy shot out of this, but also that you're creating disguise. So once you've done that, the next thing, number two, is what's your target? And you guys have heard me say this before. The target, especially with your opponent coming in, has to be close, right? It's got to be close to you. Rather than thinking, well, I'm going to hit a ball that's going to land a couple of feet from the baseline over there, right? Or I'm going to go cross court and I'm going to keep it inside somewhere in here. Start thinking about, as we see that Glenn goes up the line, someone up the line, is start thinking about, well, what's your little window above the top of the white line, right? If you were on a backboard right now, if this was like there was no one over there, but this was just a big old backboard, you were maybe playing that thing where we're also on a backboard, visualizing, imagining that we're playing a passing shot against the great Mike Federley. All that you'd be thinking about is, well, I got to make sure that my target's a spot above the white line. Same thing here. Bring your target in, and so it's closer to you. And I wouldn't be thinking about, well, I've got to keep it away from this player, because what happens is if your target keep away, then you're not actually considering the reality that this opponent might actually guess where you're going to go. And that's in the back of your mind going, well, he might anticipate I'm going over here. And then you start thinking, I got to make sure that he doesn't touch it. And you start going for the line. And the next thing you know is the ball ends up, it ends up wide, it ends up deep, maybe it ends up in the net. But you do not want to consider this guy in terms of your target. All you want to do is think about a spot above the top of the net. Now, the other thing is to take your time, right? Once you've got your spacing, once you've got your target in mind, the last thing you want to do is rush this to where you're too far out in front with contact, right? Because it's going to be a miss hit. You're probably not going to go to your target. So the third thing is to make sure that you allow the ball to get into your unique, ideal point of contact. Right? I like to call it the honeypot. Make sure you allow the ball. Get in there. You're the one in charge, right? You're the one in charge of the shot, so you don't need to rush it. And then the final thing is to assume that, number one, it's okay to wait for the ball to get in there and to take your time to finish. And here's the deal, is to assume, and this is just a full-blown finish, right? Assume it's coming back, and that's okay, right? I mean, what's Glenn doing? He's looking for the next shot, and I'm telling you, this, as we've seen, this ball lands out. But if it doesn't land out, what's Glenn looking to do? And I love this whole passing shot, this whole two-shot mindset, which is, I'm not thinking it's going to be a clean winner. It might be if Mike had guessed. If Mike had guessed cross court, let me take it back here. If Mike had guessed that Glenn was going to go cross court, then maybe he starts to take a step over there right about now. And what? Glenn's shot is going to be a clean outright winner, but he's not thinking that way. He's thinking 2-shot mindset. And now he starts moving in. He knows he's got him stretched out a little bit. And anything that comes back, well, what's Glenn looking to do? He's looking to get on this thing. Could be a volley. I mean, it could be a volley that Glenn ends up playing right in here, right? The quote unquote no man's land. We got to get that out of our language, because you have to play some shots in here to be able to take time away in this particular situation. And if that's the case, he's just going to play a backhand volley into the wide open court. So, guys, those are kind of the 4 things right there, right? Spacing, right? Making sure that you can have the good spatial distance away from the path of the ball so that you can make stroke technique simple, so that you can disguise where you're going to play your shot. Number 2 is going to be, what's your target? It's a spot above the top of the net, and that's it. It's not a spot on the court over there. It's simply a spot above the top of the net. Number 3 is to take your time, right? Take your time on this thing. Let it get into your ideal point of contact, in this case, a backhand, not rushing it. And then number 4 is just assume, no matter how clean you hit it, that the guy over there is going to make a play on it, and you'll be ready for the second part of your 2-shot passing shot mindset. There you have it. There you have it. We're at 11 minutes and 51 seconds. I ran a little bit over, around 7. Guess it's going to be 12 around 7 today. That's okay. That's okay. Guys, would love to hear from you about today's episode. Really, it's a version of what's the right shot, right? And so let me know in the comments area, or you can go ahead and just direct message me over Facebook. If you want to send me an email, that's fine too, brent@webtennis.com. And a reminder down below in the description area is that link that will take you to webtennis.com, where you can pick up my free topspin second serve 20-minute course, right? Let's get a little more power on that thing, a little more spin, right? A little more bounce, all that good stuff. Let's practically, I would never say let's never double fault again. A little hypey on that one. But let's practically eliminate double faults and make sure that by doing that, you're just not throwing in that little sitter second serve that's just sitting up for your opponent over there. Guys, with that said, it is time. Get out there today. Help someone else have a spectacular day. Guys, we'll do this again tomorrow.